Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining us for this panel. Yeah, maybe reflecting back on 10 years ago, I think that the major talk and everything was about biomarker development and everything, and that's really where we were when I started, at least, working in this space. Now, and I'm going to say it for the first time today, which is, I'm amazed. Now we have AI and machine learning, and that can be applied, and we're developing clinical predictive models. One thing that haven't changed is actually the implementation of those. All the biomarkers were developed, not that many reach the clinic. And we're seeing also the same thing right now with these clinical predictive models. So anyway, something to keep in mind as we'll be talking about the development and implementation of personalized medicine. Maybe we can start by looking a little bit back, and from your perspective, and maybe not everybody, but like whoever feels comfortable answering that, what are the most significant achievements in personalized medicine that we've seen since the council conclusion? So I don't know who wants to take that on first.
You're the closest to the patient. Yeah. Okay, hello everyone again. Yeah, it's on. So the biggest achievement so far in the field of precision personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine. Yeah.
I believe that is definitely precision oncology. So it's the application of the personalization approach into the oncology, and currently the most advanced stage of this development called tumor agnostic approach, which is completely based on the molecular characterization of the disease, completely overlooking the histological origin, and the therapy is personalized actually at the highest level as possible. And together with the multidisciplinary approach, which means the very detailed molecular characterization and multidisciplinary view of different specialists contributing to the cancer care, I believe this is the biggest achievement we reached, and it's nicely reflected in the overall survival of the cancer patients when compared 20-30 years in the past, the current situation. So, and this is also widely implemented. So it's not only, it's not dedicated only to a limited number of people in selected countries, but it's a, you know, I believe this is, from my point of view, the biggest achievement.
Right.
So I think from my side, I think that from where we started to where we are today, if we look at the research that we're funding, the personalized medicine approach is kind of mainstreamed. Even if we don't call it personalized medicine, we see it in the research that is being performed, that this is the approach that is being taken. I think that is a major leap that we have done in these 15 years. We still have a lot of work to do, of course, the implementation, but I think at least coming to this point is quite an achievement.
Right. Alexandru? And after that,
thank you. So that's indeed, it's a very important aspect that Irene has mentioned. So this shift of idea that we move from a one-size-fits-all to more and more tailored approaches, whether screenings, therapies, diagnostics, and so on. For me, a major difference was made by the huge leap from individual projects that have been funded, like biomarkers that still needs to be validated, diagnostics, treatment, so on, which were 100% funded by the European Commission or by, in some cases, by national research organizations. But the huge leap was when we started with these large co-funded partnerships. So the PerMed was something unbelievable. So the Commission only put 9.5 million. The total budget was about 32 million, and they managed to collect to fund projects, so 111 projects, totaling more than 130 million. So that means that the approach has taken traction at the level of society. It was not the funding comes from the Commission, but the countries themselves, the regions, the local administrations started to understand and to contribute. And now we are at this level of the ICPerMed, the second, let's say, large partnership where the Commission has put just 100 million euros, but the countries are participating with the remaining 275, or it can be more. So it shows that the society starts to understand and to contribute, to voluntarily engage on this path. Thank you.
And I would like to continue along these lines because I also see as really one of the major achievements is that it has been now accepted that PM needs to be a critical part of our future healthcare. And it's reflected by also a willingness to invest. So the initial large investments came very largely mainly from the European Commission. But over the years, it has been accepted by the regions and the countries that we see a lot of national funding of, for example, the necessary infrastructures that is needed. And we still have a lot of work to do in that area, but there has been a willingness to provide funding for these things. Although economy in general is under pressure for many good reasons in most countries, we still see a willingness to invest in these areas. And this has only been possible because PM has proven itself to be of key importance for healthcare in general.
I strongly support that, and I think that, again, 10 years ago, when we were talking, especially with decision makers and regulators, personalized medicines was doom and gloom that would bring bankrupt all of our healthcare systems. But now I think we're clearly past that. So thanks for highlighting that. In that spirit, in Alexandru, you have already partly answered that. But in what way did there's a strategic research and innovation agenda that was published over 10 years ago now, shape research priorities and funding in personalized medicine. And from a Canadian perspective, I can start by saying that had an impact as we were developing at CIHR, the Canadian Institute of Health Research, our precision health initiative, and brought alignment with what was happening in Europe. But I'm curious to hear from your perspective as well.
I think I have to say something. Actually, it was also partly the answer to the first question. I mean, when it comes to personalized medicine, as I said before, it moved from the research into the healthcare system. That is one thing. But what definitely happened, and that is something like I call it soft result. And I said it before, the SRIA from 2015, as well as the SRIA from 2023, they are inspiring European, national, and regional kind of policy frameworks. And I know for Germany that we have now, within ICPerMed, we have not only the research ministry, but the federal research ministry, but also the health ministry. And it would be even better if we also have the economic ministry in there. And we had, in the beginning, we had actually a gathering every 2 months organized by the Ministry of Health and exchanged on that thing. And I know like the law in Romania, we will hear about that. But the thing is that a lot of agendas, a lot of action plans on a national and regional level, like in the Lombardy, like in Spain, a lot of things happened. They could take these kind of SRIAs and pick things out of it. And you, as I said in a meeting yesterday, you cannot force policy. You can convince and recommend to the policy. And if they are convinced that there's something in for them, it's people are the same as politicians, as industry. You always have to bring them an added value. And I think in the line from what Ejner said, I think there is an added value for doing personalized approaches for all of them. Not at the same time, but on the long run. Mm-hmm. And you said that in the beginning now, as AI and machine learning and deep learning, although I think the second two are not yet working in the health system, but they are knocking at the door and they are a huge possibility. But we have to make sure that the people in the healthcare system still kind of do the quality control. I mean, that's important. As I mentioned in my last word, I don't want to have a robot or a screen telling me and asking me about the things, the kind of symptoms I have, and then telling me what I should do. I mean, I think this is not working, but we don't know how the journey will continue. And then coming to very shortly, I think, and I also agree, cancer and rare diseases were the first areas. And we had this example in the Berlin conference in 2008.
Yeah.
Right. In 2018.
Bien. ¿Qué tal, José Luis?
I think there's an online participants, and that's me.
Okay. And there was this special lung cancer, and that was one of the best practice examples we kind of had in this conference. And I remember the guy from the commission. I think he was. Yeah, exactly. And I did get the information later from the commission that these kind of best practice examples really convinced him that personalized medicine has a huge potential, not only economically, research, but for the people. And then finishing off this one,
Please.
and also breast cancer is going to be more and more personalized treated, avoiding unspecific chemotherapy, going for specific treatment. And I think that saves budget, which is not the first for me, but it is very effective, and the quality of life also during the treatment is much better. So I think that's, and the last thing is that I did coordinate the ERANET co-fund on cardiovascular diseases. And I started, because I already was involved in the past, I started to talk to the people about personalized approaches. And I said, well, we don't care. But now they are really starting to do so. And I think that's also a convincing process, which is crucial. So I stop here. So.
Thank you. Pavel, I don't know from your perspective, if there, in terms of the integration of the various, we talked about the health economics and the other parts of government that needs to be, do you have any take on this?
Well, since I'm the only one here as a policymaker, active, maybe policymaker, so obviously one thing is to look at the partnership, if it works, if there are goals and such, but obviously we look at the socio-economic impact of it. And I've heard that the countries realize that something is mainstreamed and so on. I looked through the research agenda, the conception, and there's a lot of key actions also towards the reimbursement and the funding. And that is actually quite important for me, whether it translates to the reality, whether it's not just for a few, or it's so expensive that there's a problem with the inclusivity of those measures. And I'm not sure about the situation in Czech Republic about this. Ondrej spoke about mainstreaming or implementing the oncology diseases and so on. So actually, this is the most important thing to me, whether and how the partnerships is able to convince the policymakers and via regulation and funding of the healthcare system to implement the research outcomes. And I'm not sure that we can generally say that it's mainstreamed, that it's implemented, and we are done. I would say that in most countries we are not done. And in most countries there's a problem with the access and the problem with the funding. So maybe for me it would be very interesting to see the case studies of countries where it's settled somehow, maybe.
Great, thanks. I heard it. Oops, yeah.
Yes, exactly as Pavel said. I can say that in Czech Republic we have personalized medicine as a key field and key term in all of the strategic documents related to the research, related to the healthcare research concepts, program for support. Everywhere is a separate chapter on personalized medicine and subchapter on precision medicine. But still, for me, the most important point based on my profession is the implementation. And as Pavel said, highly differs between the countries, and it strongly depends on the availability of the innovative drugs. And for instance, in 2 weeks ago was published paper comparing GDP on x-axis, and on y-axis there was a number of the EMA approved drugs having reimbursement. And you have countries having 80% reimbursement of all of the innovative drugs, and still at the European Union you have countries with 10% or 15%. And this is not doable actually from our level, as I believe. We can develop a pressure, we can repeat it again and again, But for instance, Czech Republic and Slovakia, we were originally one country. In Czech Republic, we have reimbursement for the 80% of these innovative drugs. In Slovakia, it's 15%. So it's a huge difference. So how you can then talk about the personalized medicine without drugs to be used for the personalized approach? So we have it all. I think that all the European countries already have it in their strategic documents as one of the key strategic fields to be supported. But still, the equity is very poor even within the European Union.
Irene?
Indeed, also the equity also between regions within one country. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I think here, if we think about how to create an impact and interest in decision making, I think there is a little bit of vocabulary that needs to be fine-tuned. We need to start to talk about health outcomes, because health outcomes speaks to the individual, and by that you can get the citizens to understand that this new systematic approach, is something which is good, is beneficial for me, because I want to have my best health outcome. And the other one is health systems performance, because this is something every country would like to have, is the best performance of the health system. And we need to start to sort of use this vocabulary that the finance minister would understand and that a citizen would understand, so that we can create this pull mechanism, because that is how we would reach it in the end. We have worked on this sort of technology and science push all this year and tried to get it out, but we need to come to the point where we have the society to pull in. And it's not going to be easy, because healthcare is, as I said, also it's a big ship, and you need to change, because it's a systematic change in how you approach it, from primary care through the care systems. And that's not easy. So we need to have a very solid sort of evidence base, and we need to learn to speak the language that in particular finance ministers are talking about, and also that the citizens sort of understands and say, I need to have this.
Great.
If I can comment a little bit, it was mentioned several times, actually, HTA analysis, health economics, critically important to follow to your answer. The problem is that they are not applicable in various countries. Since the availability of the drugs is so country dependent, you have to have your own HTA analysis from the real world setting. And therefore it's very difficult to negotiate about the reimbursement for specific interventions till you have your implementation pilot projects for your specific region to show the actual benefit, not only the clinical benefit, but also the cost benefit ratio and the health economics assessment.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say that this aspect of differences across health systems, we also have recognized it, and we are taking steps in this direction. So there is another partnership funded by the European Commission, also a co-funded partnership, which looks exactly at transforming health and care systems. So within that partnership, and many people here are also members in that one, we are looking exactly at how to address these differences. And it's not easy, because as it has been mentioned, we can only provide figures, data, solutions, but it's for the healthcare policymaker to decide. What has been done during the first years of this partnership was to identify certain ecosystems, mostly local and regional, where people enjoy a good quality of healthcare delivery. And by promoting those ecosystems, by organizing twinnings and exchange of good practices, we hope to be able to further promote, let's say, this advancement in healthcare systems delivery. So this is one thing. Another thing that I want to say is that for the time being, we may not see yet the results. So I see things like rolling snowball. So this rolling snowball is ongoing, but it still doesn't have the necessary mass to provoke an avalanche. But this will come. I'm waiting personally for the moment when personalized treatments will start to be reimbursed apart from cancers and rare diseases. And at that moment, when health insurers will start to reimburse personalized treatments, I think at that moment we will see the effect of an avalanche, let's say, of personalized medicine. Thank you.
Okay. We've it was touched a little bit upon the equity or the difference between countries. But if we're thinking about the challenges that remains in ensuring equitable access to personalized medicine across different regions and populations, and putting the international and a little bit of international emphasis like in ICPerMed, and thinking about the technical background, the environment, thinking of simple things like oxygen monitors that we know, at least in Canada from studies, that there's inequitable access to healthcare based on the oxygen monitor because they're calibrated for by skin. They can easily be calibrated and personalized medicine approaches for different ethnicity and skin color, but we are not even doing that. So that's the type of things that we could consider, or the polygenic risk scores, where we know it's like quite accurate for people of European descent, but in various ethnicities, it goes to nearly like non-applicable. For that, we're working through the Canadian Precision Health Initiative, for example, in Canada, to increasing the diversity in our data sets as we're training new algorithms and new PRS. Again, from your perspective, what would be the main challenge that you see now that we need to address in the next 10 years?
Well, as some part of answer to that is kind of a continuation of what Irene mentioned about good health system outcomes. I think in order really to get there, I think we are still stuck a little bit with saying that personalized medicine is equal to genetic medicine, and then is equal also to cancer and to rare diseases. I think we need to get beyond that, because personalized medicine is much more than that. Personalized medicine is basically, as Wolfgang also mentioned, how to use all the information we have and all the knowledge we have in order to provide the best possible treatment for the individual person. And that might include genetic data, but might not necessarily be so. Mm-hmm. So we need to expand the concept. And this is also where I bring in one of my pet topics, and that is we need to bring the PM out to the GP clinic, because it's the general practitioner who is approaching the very large part of the patients in our healthcare systems. It's only a small part of it who is going into the cancer and rare disease part, the secondary and tertiary treatments. Most of them are sitting with the GP, and we need to get the concepts of PM out there. And there has been different studies, for example, within the era PerMed and also within some of the activities in ICPerMed, showing that it's possible to go that way. And if you really go that way, then people also reach a much larger part of the population that needs healthcare. And it will also affect some of the inequalities there are between regions and nations in terms of personalized medicine, because as the examples we already have shown, it's not necessarily to be able to have very expensive testing facilities and treatment facilities to treat specific types of rare cancers and so on. It's actually possible to take conventional treatments, which have been known for decades, and use them in a better way based on some better views on the information about the particular patient. So we need to go that way. And it's still, in that way, I still see personalized medicine as being kind of at a rather early stage, because we still have ways to go there. But I see a huge opportunity really to get to much better health systems outcomes by going that way.
Great. Anybody else want to take a stab at this equity aspects, or if not? We have about 20 minutes left. At this point, I have other questions and I can continue, but I would like to open it to the floor. I don't know if there's someone that would have a burning questions, like Matteo. And please don't be shy. We really want this to be as interactive as possible. So it's...
Okay. Hello, everybody. Matteo Gentili from Fondazione Toscana Life Sciences in Italy and leading work package 5 of the PerMed. So you all presented a very nice progression of personalized medicine initiatives and a strong support also from the European Commission. Do you think that also the involvement of the private sector that we all recognize as a very fundamental stakeholder is progressing at the same speed or is still lagging behind, and what we could imagine to foster a better engagement of the private sector? Thank you.
Well, from my viewpoint, absolutely, and I think that industry is actually in a faster speed even in there, and that is not only in terms of therapies, but in particular when it comes to diagnosis, where we see also the use of AI and, you know, image treatments, etc. So I think there is where a lot of, you know, the evolution is happening very, very rapidly right now. And I think it also points to the importance to work together. Work together, everybody in the ecosystem need to work together in terms of also how to best harness the new technologies. You mentioned, you know, AI, we have quantum computing coming very, very quickly as well. And how, you know, in the safe way without also adventuring the, you know, the safety of patients and citizens, can we ensure the quality? And as you mentioned, you know, to capture all the data, we also start to learn a lot more about the environmental impact on our individuals, etc. And how can we capture all this information to come to this true personalized medicine that you were mentioning, Ejner. And I think that to come to that point, we need to work together, everybody in the ecosystem. And there, I think that in some industrial sectors, they have a head speed there, I would say, in particular in the imaging part, where you do already quite, you know, a lot of experience in a lot of data management and how to use that. So for me, it's an absolute yes.
I would say yes and no. If we focus on the two main areas, for the main areas of the highest level of implementation of personalized medicine, in oncology, definitely yes. It's the engine behind actually the personalization. It started with the company and diagnostics, which means that the registration was linked to the respective biomarker to be tested before the drug is used as a part of the registration process. Mm-hmm. Currently, the tumor agnostic testing, tumor agnostic approvals is mandatory, the testing either. In rare and ultra-rare diseases, the situation is different because it's out of the focus and interest of the industry. And there, I believe there is a huge capacity and huge space for the academic research, ATMPs, and GMP facilities throughout the whole Europe, the academic centers. And this is what we are currently actually see as the process, which is ongoing, hugely supported by the European Commission and all potential funders, that the GMP facilities focused on development of specific ATMP, advanced therapeutic medicinal products, gene therapies for a specific rare diseases, or bespoke gene therapies based on AAV viruses. This is everything. All of this is ongoing. So cancer industry, rare diseases, academic research is the main engine. This is how I see it.
If you say private sector, I think you have to divide between different things. You have startups, you have SMEs, you have industry. Industry is developing more and more globally. I mean, that you have to consider as well, especially when you talk about Europe, but well, keeping this in mind. Saying something negative, I'm not a big fan of having industry collecting data first and then they say what they do with it. I really don't think that makes sense. And we have to make sure that our data or people and institutions who have data from us, either lifestyle or clinical data, that is really taken care of. That is not just giving away. It needs to be a defined purpose for why they give the information. So that is more the critical part. But then we had a lot of other things, but we had a roundtable in Valencia, I remember, in the context of ICPerMed on the innovation topic. And we had a really good discussion. And then somebody from industry actually said, when I was saying, oh, we need to collaborate somehow, it's not that easy. But she said actually, and I just like phrased it as well, if you have a good thing, industry will find you. So keep that in mind as well. The thing is that they are not, let's say, they are not altruistic institutions. They need to have profit. They need to have a business plan, independent of what level they are. I think in the way personalized approaches and knowledge develops, also with AI and so on, maybe startups and SMEs are the better target group. Nevertheless, keeping in mind that they might be kind of bought up by industry, but this is the way it is. So in general, I think we need the private sector. We need to have it in a controlled way. And mentioning ICPerMed, yes, we would like to communicate what we have already across the different cluster health partnerships, including EHE and EDCTP, which are joint undertakings. We have an exchange, and we continue and might intensify this exchange. I had in my dreams that when there's a approach really successful, maybe EHE is taking it up and doing a call on it, something like that. But the other side is that we might also have a sustainable future for partnerships in the health cluster. We might have to find a way how we can kind of cooperate, communicate. But that has to be it has to be prepared in a very good way, because we might have a different consortium agreement with industry, let's say it this way. But we have to communicate, but we also have to offer something first. I would stop here.
Thank you.
Sorry.
If I make answer, I think that there will be huge opportunities for the private sector, provided that we look at, and they are aware of this, and probably there will be developments. But we need to see personalized medicine not as a targeted drug for a rare disease, but it's an all-encompassing approach. So it's not only about treatment, it can be about also screening, but about also personalized services. I'm thinking about nurses, physiotherapists, psychologists, dietitians, and so on. So there are several categories of people that can contribute to these tailored approaches to personal health. So from my viewpoint, these opportunities will be noticed. So for the time being, we only talk about large industry providing high advanced drugs, or about the IT sector working on data, or about genome sequencing and things like this. But let's look further into the actual provision of healthcare services that are really tailored and that address several aspects of health. Thank you.
Well, I think, in my opinion, we need to have this collaboration, because we need the innovation that's going on in the research institution and the hospitals, but we also need the competences that is in the industry in terms of bringing these new innovations out to the patients. And it's true that we do have a problem, for example, with rare diseases, because it's small diseases and not big enough for a big company to have a profit out of it. But I think to get around that problem is that we need to do some innovative thinking in how we are thinking of health economics. What are the health economic models that we can apply here? And by doing some innovative thinking here, we can kind of change the landscape so that it will be possible for also larger companies to go into rare diseases. And so I think there's a way forward if we really want to do it, and if we put in the sufficient resources in order to provide these new solutions. And I think we need to do that, because we need what's going on both at the large industry but also the SMEs. And it cannot be, it has been said sometimes that we don't need industry because we have our hospitals and they can develop the new medicines. I think that's a very dangerous and very wrong way of looking at it, because it will only work for very select few patients with very select special diseases. If we go out in kind of the larger scale diseases where we really have the many patients, it will not work that way. There we need kind of to have the industry. So we need to find other ways to work together. We need to find other ways to think about health economics and also health technology assessments in order to move forward.
Thank you. And following on that, I would say that from a Canadian perspective as well, that's essential for our international competitiveness, as well as for access eventually to the innovations by the patients. So we cannot really see this as mutually exclusive. There's health and economic benefits that comes together. So we really need, especially for our SMEs, like Wolfgang, you've pointed out, we really need a supportive ecosystem and have the venture capital available and everything to international sovereignty as well, so that it's not as soon as they reach a certain very low maturity level, but it's super interesting, be bought essentially by American companies. So really to build that economic development at the national or European level, Canadian level, I think that involving industry is key.
Because online. No?
Yes,
I have a
question over there.
Hi. Oh, I have the microphone, sorry.
So do I. Carry on.
I think my question can be very short. It relates to the previous question, also to Wolfgang's story, why his case is actually not investigated. So with ICPerMed, we do a lot of cross-pollination. We have contact with researchers, companies, startups. We bring them together at different levels. As you explained, Wolfgang, in the consortia, we have patients. The different advisory boards, they meet each other. We have a panel here where all of this comes in. So my question is, what is the role of ICPerMed in this? So we are now a catalyst, but should we become an active ingredient in this, which is a different role?
Well, I can answer. I mean, the thing is also mentioned for the Czech Republic. I think what we can do is we can fund really good research. We can try to also support innovation and implementation. And we talked before, and he was quite happy about the twinning code. So you see, there's instruments there. But I think, and I don't want to make it too long, but it's important that we will have a new SRIA in 2027. I did forget that when I was at the podium. So please give ideas. So there will be a conference in 2027 around May. We haven't fixed it yet. The SRIA will be one of the two big topics there. We will collect, and even Ejner, if you want to contribute, you're more than welcome. You did very well before. So we have to dedicate a chapter or at least parts of this SRIA for this topic. And I completely agree, although I might look or sound skeptic, we need the private sector. Definitely. I mean, only research and the local healthcare system is not working. We need them also for the new jobs when they come up. So please give your information, your ideas. You can send it directly to ICPerMed@dlr.de, and you can also go via the partners you know from ICPerMed. Please give your ideas. We will check them. We will further develop them. Others will come. So yeah, this is a chance, but it's also definitely needed that we go further into the private sector.
Thank you. The quick answer, or do we go directly to microphone over there? Yeah, please.
Thanks. I've got a question from a patient perspective. We heard a little today about the initiatives that you've been working on so far, where you've been reaching out to patient organizations. But I wondered, for the next 10 years, where do you see developing relationships there with patient organizations or patient representatives in the work of ICPerMed and more widely in this personalized medicine space? Thanks.
I have to answer. Yeah, first of all, I did say that we have already 14 patient organizations being from the beginning of the proposal development within these 22 proposals of the JTC 25. That will continue with the next co-funded course. So, And we have to see, we might also have an exchange with these patient organizations because we can learn from them, they can learn from us. So that's one line. But also here, I have to say, already in the SRIA 23 and the first SRIA in 2015, there's a lot of perspectives and aspects listed on patient involvement, engagement. The names are changing, but the general idea is the same. Then another thing, which again,
we'll move to Irene soon, if you want to just be succinct, because there's many other questions.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, but we have an education call open, dedicated to healthcare professionals, and we might also go for patients and people as a target group in a later stage.
So I just wanted to provide sort of the experience we have from the Commission side and the collaborative research part, where we actually, in many calls, made it mandatory that all proposals must have patients' organizations or patients' representatives in there. And then I want to come to what is the role of the patients' representatives in these projects. And there, through IMI, was funded the UPATI, which is now a foundation, really to train patients in what it means to be part of a research project. But I think that we also need to go the other way. We need to train researchers on how patients can actively participate in projects, because it's not obvious, and patients should never be a token in a project just to tick a box. It should be an active participation. So there is a lot of work, and there I think ICPerMed, you can do a lot of work in that area.
Yep. Thank you so much. Now from the clinical side, it was ICPerMed side, European Commission side, and the clinical side. We have Cancer for Precision Medicine as a unit of the hospital. This is the second largest university hospital in Czech Republic. And we have memorandum of understanding signed with maybe 5 or 6 patient organizations. We would like to have them included in our activities, in designing of the project goals. We participate on their specific events. Our experts give the lectures there. So I believe that they definitely should be involved to all the activities, also at the level of the clinic, at the level of the clinical side, at least in a highly specialized care. Obviously, it's not possible at GP level, but at the level of the highly specialized care at the university hospitals, respective centers, rare diseases, cancer, they definitely should be in.
Thank you. I like the different perspectives. So we have here.
I would like to go back. I would like to go back to the questions. Sorry.
Yep, please go ahead.
But it doesn't work. Does my microphone work now?
No.
So I would like to go back to the questions about ultra-rare medication and the role of academia and private partners. When you think about drug products that may not have a really good commercial value, you may think about commercial partners taking the role of producing a platform and therefore making something that is very flexible in making the next drug a little bit different from the previous one. There still would be a role for commercial partners, but then our regulatory authorities need to take a different look at very ultra-rare medication. So what is your view on that, changing the role of EMA and our regulatory system?
Okay, so first of all, I don't think we can speak on changing the role of EMA here. But what I can say is that under the Innovative Health Initiative, our collaboration with the private sector, there is just starting a regulatory sandbox project. And I think that is really something, and that was proposed for the first time in the pharma package. And it's very well received, because we know for any type of innovative methodology, we don't know what kind of regulatory systems will be needed for the future. So this is the very first attempt to do something. The project has just been signed. It has not been officially announced yet, but I think it will be very soon. So keep an eye out of that. And I think that is a typical question that should be potentially coming into that type of context. And there you do have the collaboration with all the important partners that would be necessary to take this forward.
Okay, so to close the session, we have one question here. After that, we go there. And after that, Rizwana. Oh, 2 there. Okay. So 2 there. After that, Rizwana, you'll have the last one. Please.
So my name is Sarah van Waalwijk, and I am a member of the National Committee of Payers in the Netherlands, a committee that evaluates medicine and molecular diagnostics at the same time to make sure that diagnostic is available while therapy is available too. my idea of personalized medicine is not just giving a treatment to the patient, but also withholding the treatments for patients. So like, for instance, if you look at adjuvant therapy in cancer, you see that sometimes you need to treat 30, 40, 50 patients to prevent disease progression in one. And this means harm to about 40, 50 patients to prevent this one occasion. And this means that by developing biomarkers, we would probably be saving costs and we will be saving patients from unnecessary harm. So my question to you is, how are we going to work, collaborate with health systems, collaborate with payers in developing these types of personalized non-treatments? Thank you.
Well, we had already one call on biomarker targets. That's maybe in this direction. Then we have the one on pharmacogenomics, also in this direction. I have to say that we have just 2 years at the moment. And I also have to say, as said before, and you all know that the healthcare systems are different. For example, you had the example from Slovakia and Czech Republic. And I think actually Slovakia is one of the few who are not member of ICPerMed. I hope I don't do something wrong now. Anyway, it's really tricky. You are in the Netherlands setting. We have to really first get contact to the important healthcare system players. And then we can do maybe something. And then there you see, you have different healthcare systems. In Spain, you have regional healthcare systems, as I mentioned before. We have to get in contact with the right people. And then who are the people you have to contact? Is it the healthcare professionals? Is it the insurances? In Germany, we have 100 insurances. And 2 different systems. I'm not going into that. So it's really tricky to speak with the right people. And then the next point is, what kind of information is given by whom to these people that you avoid this? But I see your point, and we definitely should do something that we tackle this.
So Irene?
Yeah, and I think it's a very good question that you're putting on the table. And as we started to mention also, the personalized, prediction and prevention is equally important. And I mean, most of the time we talk about therapy and really targeted therapies, but personalized medicine, as Ejner also mentioned, is a much broader concept. And I agree with you that one should look, in many different angles on this. There's a lot of work to be done here. There is a role for everybody, and that's why collaboration is vital. And I think everybody needs to be at the table and in particularly say what is needed. And we had a discussion about the next generation sequencing, what we call the pre-commercial procurement, which is actually a very interesting tool where you can work with any type of end user and ask, what do you actually need, to implement this? And then you go backwards. So instead of going technology or science push, you actually go from the need pull side and try to develop something which is really useful in the clinic. And it's something that we have done a few experiments in the Commission with these tools. We call them innovation procurement. And we find it very, very useful in particular to identify very specific needs and where also science and technology is mature enough to take that extra step and to come in. And this is also where we could also foster a bit entrepreneurship, because this could be very novel ideas that can also kick off, startup companies, etc., to go in different directions that haven't been thought about before.
That's a very good point. I think that this aspect of withdrawing a treatment or reducing the dosage to tailor it better to the patient is also part of personalized medicine. And we have been funding projects in this area. I think the project that was mentioned by Irene in her slide, the Safe PerMed, I have attended one of the review meetings. It's about a very complex tool that looks at several drugs being administered at the same patient. And the tool can predict or can recommend at which hour, so the sequence and time when drugs should be taken in order to minimize the adverse reactions, or also how to reduce the dosage, keeping in mind the interactions among several drugs. And also for 26-27, but this is the draft program, but it has been published, so it's leaked in the public. there is a call about adverse drug reactions in case of polymedication, so it's foreseen. So this is another avenue on which we are working, how to deliver best treatment, but also reducing the dosage or simply skipping certain drugs that just do harm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for this question. It's actually a great point. I believe the toxicity is something which was in the past completely overlooked and was always considered to be secondary. But now, luckily, we have projects addressing this issue. But you mentioned as an example the oncology field. Again, this is something which I'm aware of. So the thing is that when you are looking for a right drug for a right patient, obviously you report also what is not a right drug for this patient, because the part of the report are all negative findings. So if you do not have the target there, it means that you do not use the respective drug. And at the same time, we have a negative predictive biomarkers like KRAS mutation and anti-EGFR monoclonal antibodies. So you specifically test to evaluate what not to use. Yes, so we have scenarios like that in a clinical routine which are actually used.
Great.
And maybe just very shortly, when it comes to the,
we know
I think it's important.
You can continue that on the break, and please, because yeah, we have still 3 questions and we're over time. So sorry, I know you have a lot to say, but yes, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Magdalena Dakar. I'm Chief Executive Officer of FH Europe Foundation. It's a network of of almost 40 patient organizations across wider Europe and beyond Europe, a little bit like ICPerMed right now. Before I go to a question, I would like to say something positive. So we represent in Europe, outside of EU, whole Europe, 150 million people living with inherited genetic lipid disorders, some of them extremely common, 1 in 5. So imagine in every row, 1 person actually, you have elevated Lp(a), CVD risk factors. I just want to bring attention that it's not patients, us and them, it's us. Anyhow, it's 150 million people around in Europe, some conditions very common, others extremely rare. Tonight, we will have an opportunity to actually tell you a little bit more about it together with the 2 young patient ambassadors who will record the podcast. My point, however, is the fact that we have managed to drive and co-create very specific projects and funded by Horizon, like FH Early, where we implement the insights of a lived experience, people's perspective, families' perspective, into very innovative research to drive precision diagnostics and personalized medicines. So there are already great examples of how patients and people with lived experience are championing it. Not enough, but we have examples. That said, those lipid disorders are CVD risk factors, meaning cardiovascular disease, which is preventable. In less than a month, European Commission will publish officially cardiovascular health plan. I don't know if it's public knowledge or not, but it has leaked and we've seen it. We're happy to a certain degree because those conditions are being represented, but all the work in the space of precision and personalized medicine is not there. It's missing. Our community, 150 million people, we can prevent cardiovascular events if there is more take on early, personalized prevention. How can this group here today act so that implementation happens further on and we can have more Dianas and Olivias who are sitting at the back of the room benefit from cardiovascular health? Thank you.
What I can say is that the drafting of such a policy document, it's a complex endeavor. We are aware of this. So on our side, we push with the personalized medicine approaches. So we are in contact with our colleagues, and we hope that in the final document, this aspect will be taken into account. But beyond the publication of a policy document, there will be years of actual practice, translated into practice. And the ICPerMed, we foresee it as an active contributor to this cardiovascular health plan. So we envisage meetings between ICPerMed coordination group and the respective group in the DigiSante who will deal with this. So we expect that our research project will actively contribute to the implementation of the cardiovascular health plan. So this is work in progress.
How can we make societies, medical societies, implement the approach of personalized medicine? But still not there.
We hope it will be there, and we work on making this happen, because at the end of the day, what matters are the results. So not the policy declaration, but what you actually deliver to the public. And the implementation of those preventive measures that you have mentioned and where you have played such an important role, I think will come to the light. So we will seek together for active ways of contributing to the implementation of this cardiovascular health plan. We still need to see it being published and what is mentioned there, but in the end, this will represent a very important part of the prevention side that you have mentioned.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing this question. Yes.
Yeah, Iñaki Gutiérrez Evolución, currently the Director of Health Research, Innovation and Evaluation of the Basque Ministry for Health, and also one of the members of ICPerMed. My question is much more on decision making. It has been mentioned by Pavel and Ondrej that the HTA is part of the things by which decisions are made in some way. So on that basis, my question is much more on if we have analyzed how the new HTA regulation could affect the personalized medicine solutions, bearing in mind that we have so scattered decisions in Europe, and that also the ways that the decisions are made in the different countries differ. As we may know, in many countries they are not even health economics analysis, but budget impact. And also, perhaps it would be good also to state how in those countries those decisions made, and perhaps try to explain to professionals and patients, because I think it is the way to trigger in some way personalized medicine, and also informing them which are the rules that we are following so far.
Someone wants to take? Yes, please.
Just a brief comment. You're pointing in the right direction, because obviously the implementation of those things is on the national level, obviously, because the healthcare system are quite different. And considering the science for policy, as you were referring to, is that one thing is to have the data and make the analysis and the research about the healthcare system, and the other thing is the policy making towards the regulation and so on. I would say, and it's thanks to Ministry of Health, then in last recent years, I think there is a lot of things going on concerning the data, let's say, gathering about the system. We are now running new study programs for the health economics. So I think that in last, let's say, 2-3 years, there's a lot of moving on towards the decision-making professionals that are able to look at the system and to provide some recommendations towards the regulators. The other thing is obviously the regulation itself and the funding through the insurance and reimbursement. And obviously there's a lot of things to do, obviously. So we need to find the right way how to translate the research. And I'm not talking about the research in biomedicine. I mean, the research in health economics towards the regulation. So obviously a lot of things to do, and it's the member state level homework, obviously, also for Czechia.
Great, thank you. Rizwan?
Thank you so much. Firstly, I want to congratulate you looking back at 10 years of the evolution of personalized medicine in Europe, what you've achieved through ICPerMed, setting up ICPerMed only 2 years in, but you've got all of the structuration around a personalized medicine ecosystem for Europe. Now, as we look forward to the next 10 years, and I like what you said, Wolfgang, that, you know, and keeping in the theme of how we need to work more closely with industry, because industry will be that backbone to create the economy around this. And, you know, coming from the global south, I would say that looking forward the next 10 years and having the opportunity to maybe contribute to the SRIA, we create some sort of a framework for that industry engagement, because the level of engagement with industry in how it has helped Europe evolve its personalized medicine ecosystem is very different from what we are experiencing now in the global south, where we are short on regulation. And, you know, the science to policy dynamic plays a strong role. And I think that, like, in terms of this internationalization agenda, be it through maybe ICPerMed as a platform, it is a good place for us as we look at the, you know, evolution of personalized medicine, not just at the European level, but at a global level. And, you know, it's not only the benefit for just the globe, but also for Europe itself in terms of serving every person in Europe. We live in a global village, and we have to be inclusive on niche populations that need to be included and the agendas that need to be inclusive of everybody. So that would be my suggestion, and I would want to understand from your perspective if that's something that could be taken forward. Thank you.
Definitely. So I don't have to, I should not speak so long, but yes, we definitely have a chapter in the next SRIA or parts of the SRIA describing this, and you bring in the international perspective and the global perspective. What I would like to mention, I think that's very important. One thing is having industry kind of cooperating or being partner in ICPerMed. That's maybe more complex, I have to say. But what we can do and what we plan to do is we offer communication channels, platforms between research, successful research, and the private sector on all levels and the healthcare system. So that's the idea. At least in the back of our mind, some activities up towards this. And also in 2027, we might have something like an event like that one, and we have a marketplace and we have different research, let's say, collaborations coming in, showing their results. And there's lots of results already from ICPerMed, but also beyond that. And then we invite industry to join, and then they can kind of communicate a bit like a fair where they can go in a box and talk, but they can talk to different. And then also, if that's possible, and again, that's coming back to the healthcare system, we will try that event or maybe another event where we also bring in the healthcare system players, healthcare professionals, insurances. Insurance is extremely difficult to get on board anyway, but we will try. So we bring all of them together, all the three colors. And then we hope that is an offer. This is an invitation. And I really hope, and I'm very optimistic, that will make a difference, beside the other things we are doing with the twinning and so on.
Great. Thank you. Irene?
Oh, sorry.
You'll have the final word.
That sort of, I kind of remembered an idea of something that was tested in terms of the pickup of best practices that we did between different DGs in the Commission quite some time ago. The focus at that point was in nutrition and best practice in nutrition. And there was a fair organized with the healthcare providers. And if there would be more than 3 countries or 3 healthcare providers who would be interested to pick up the best practice and pilot it, they would be funded, not from the research program, but from the public health program. But I think this is something maybe you should think about in terms of this matchmaking and the fair, because that could be a way of piloting in different systems, you know, whatever kind of results that you have that we would like to test out. So it was just something that came into mind on mechanism of how to do it and to stimulate, you know, that step in the piloting.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Maybe very short last one.
Sorry, I need to go.
You need to go? Okay. So maybe we can take that question to the break, to the panel member, because some panelists needs to go, so I'm very sorry. We'll like to thank again Rizwana Mia and Rally Sillert, who really helped shape that session, and all the panelists, and especially Irene for all your leadership throughout the years in shaping that agenda, along with all the Commission colleagues. So thank you all.